Skull.
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 I think at the end of the season, I'm going to do a compilation of all of our intros of doing that.
There's going to be so much skulling.
An unhealthy amount of skull, which I guess unhealthy is the term we'll use to describe yesterday's game. I'm Jason Harmon here with Brev and Bain. You, not to throw you under the bus, you didn't watch the second half in full?
No, so I think I got to see most of if not all of the first half. Then I had to go to a Friendsgiving last night, an hour away. So I listened to I think all of the third quarter on the NFL app. They play like the home and away broadcast. Got to listen to friend of the channel, Paul Allen. And that was cool. It's actually kind of cool to get to do that because I don't usually get to do that. But as I was pulling in, I was like 15, 20 minutes away and we were up
11, I think.
27-16. Maybe it was close, like 10 minutes away, maybe. And then I pulled in, I look at my phone, it's 27-24, and I see they recovered an onside kick. And I'm like, I have no way to watch it. So I just kind of have to be on the ESPN app for a second, much to the chagrin of a certain someone I was there with. But, it's my job, technically. One of my jobs.
It's a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost kicked my wife out of the house because her and my son went to lunch with some family, and I offered to go, but they knew I would just be watching the game on my phone. So they're like, no, hang back, do your content stuff. I was like, okay. And we were dominating mostly, outside from a few weird moments. And then she got back and things started going out. And she's like, do you want me to leave? And I almost considered it because I'm superstitious, but no, we ended up winning. She recorded my reaction to the field goal because that in and of itself was really
I would
a decisive moment of my mental health.
I would think she'd record you kicking a game-winning field goal.
Oh yes, that was me indeed.
I'll play. Yeah. I play into it, but I don't think you guys look that alike.
We're just white guys with kind of similarly shaped faces and colored hair and facial hair, and I think that's pretty much it.
I think you're better looking, but that's not saying he's bad looking. That's just how I think of you.
Did I just riz on the podcast? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of, thanks for mentioning my better lighting.
Oh, I kind of noticed, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was just you or that glowing shirt you're wearing.
No, it's me. It's me making sure I had better lighting because it seems like before every show you're like, wow, is that all the light you have? And I'm like, yeah. So then I fixed it and you don't even mention it. So that's fine.
Well, the sun's up here barely, and sometimes I consistently forget we're on different time zones. Congratulations. You look great. Yeah. You kind of got the JJ McCarthy rosy lip lighting going on.
Yeah, I don't know why my lips are so like that sometimes, but genetics, Native American, I don't know.
Anyways, number one thing to talk about is the debate that luckily you have had to not see as far as Justin Jefferson's performance. Obviously, fans of other fan bases trying to call him wash, saying, Calvin Johnson, guys like that face the same coverages all the time. I'm not sure if you saw some of the screenshots going around, and one of the videos from the end zone where he just gets straight up tackled in the back of the end zone. Do you think criticism is fair to him or Darnold as far as what we saw yesterday? I have my own thoughts, but curious about yours.
It's hard to criticize anybody, and I kind of knew that Bears fans would hang a banner about Justin Jefferson not having a good game box score wise, but if you take, because he had 27 yards on 2 catches, you can add a good 50 to 60 onto that on top of the penalties from Jalen Johnson alone interfering with him, because I know he got that one deep ball that was a penalty. That one's like a little iffy. He might not have caught that anyway, but would have had a much better shot if Jalen Johnson didn't hold him for 5 yards. And I know when I was listening, I never saw it, but I know Jalen Johnson got called for another penalty while in coverage of Justin Jefferson. And then I heard another play where Paul Allen was like, oh my goodness, because Justin, I guess, just embarrassed Jalen Johnson, but it was a bad ball or something. So yeah, box score wise, Jefferson didn't have a great game. And hopefully I'm not stealing your point of Justin Jefferson is part of the reason that Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones had such great games. Yesterday was the first time that the Vikings have had a 300-yard passer, 100-yard rusher, and two 100-yard receivers since 2000. So maybe it's kind of a cop out to say that the best wide receiver on the planet is going to take some attention away from the other parts of the offense, but he's very much a reason why that happened. And again, box score is the box score. If you go back and watch the tape, you will see that Justin Jefferson usually, if he's one-on-one, he's killing whoever's in front of him.
Yeah, one of the shots I believe was Jalen Johnson. He is one-on-one and he's running up the field and is grabbing him by the arm. Obviously, but here's the thing is that yesterday, you and I have been talking about yesterday happening for a month now. Especially when you see the all 22 from these other games or even just some of the broadcast replays. Like, this is the game Jordan Addison should have been having for the last 4 or 5 games. Realistically, he's been this open. I'm so glad that Darnold prioritized getting him the ball. And with that being said, Darnold yesterday had what I thought was his best game as a Viking personally. Maybe not completion wise. I know completion wise, some of the weird people who are, I don't want to use the term Kirk stance because there are people who like Kirk who are happy to see the Vikings doing well. Myself being one of them, I'm happy we moved on though. But there are some people who, the faceless egg accounts going on and yelling about how we should have never moved on, who we're talking about his completion percentage. And I'm like, did you not watch some of the throws he made and some of the trust he had for his receivers? And those same people are mad he didn't get the ball to Jefferson. What were you saying against the Jaguars where he forced it to Jefferson? You can't have it both ways. These defenses have now finally come to a point where going forward, the Cardinals, the Seahawks, the Falcons are going to have to decide, to what Jefferson said yesterday, hey, either, you know, I light it up or they light it up. You have to pick your poison. And so I'm just so glad we finally had that game that has been in the making. And I think the Bears were more egregious in their coverage of Jefferson and the fact that they just weren't hiding. They were going to push him around all day and hope the refs didn't do anything. And for the most part, they didn't. But I'm glad to see we took advantage of it finally.
Yeah, and that's why I bring up the term box score watcher so much. And I really try to drive home don't just look at the box score. Because yesterday, if you actually watch what Sam Darnold did, and watching the actual film from the all 22 angle really helped that. Luckily for you watching, I uploaded earlier today to the Vikes Now channel, and I need to do that more because it gets a lot of views, which means a lot of money. Darnold's ball placement yesterday, his decision making yesterday, he had the right amount of aggressiveness to his game. It was kind of the exact game that we wanted Darnold to have been having, where sorry if you hear the dogs, to where these dogs are really loud. You wanted him to dial back that aggressiveness, and he did that. So, and you can't ask Darnold to play a perfect game every single week because he's not going to. Sam Darnold, no quarterback does. But yesterday was it. The ball placement was good. If he was forcing throws, he had been forcing throws to Jefferson in the past. But the only time yesterday that he was forcing balls were understandably to Justin Jefferson, and he only did it a very small handful. It might have been 2 or 3 times to where it was over the middle. Maybe it was a turnover worthy play. Maybe should have been intercepted, but just ball placement, decision making. His pocket presence was as good as it had been all year to this point. A little bit of a rough game from Brian O'Neill, but he's been really good, so I'll excuse it. But yeah, it's exactly what we wanted. Stop just looking at the box score because it doesn't tell the whole story. Instead, go watch the film that I uploaded and give me money.
Wow. You shill. Here's an interesting fact about Darnold. So right now, Jared Goff is plus 700 to win MVP. Darnold is plus 10,000. Completion percentage, Jared Goff 72.9, Darnold 67.6. Passing yards, Goff 27.61, Darnold 27.12. Total touchdowns, Jared Goff 21, Sam Darnold 22. Interceptions, 9 for Goff, 10 for Sammy. Passer rating, 109.9 Goff, 101.7 Darnold. QBR, 57.6 Goff, 59.3 Darnold. Yards per attempt, 9 versus 8.3 for Darnold. PFF grade, 74.4 for Goff, 81.9 for Darnold. Turnover worthy plays, 13 Goff, 17 Darnold. Completion percentage over expected, plus 7.2 for Goff, plus 6.9 for Darnold. And here's the one that really sticks out to me. Big time throws. This is one of my favorite. PFF is really hit or miss. I think they do a pretty good job of evaluating quarterbacks. But big time throw percentage is, or not percentage, but the amount of big time throws is one of my favorite stats. 9 for Goff, 22 for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is trusting his receivers. He's letting it rip. We saw that yesterday on that deep ball right in front of the goal line to Addison, where he had the defender jumping on his back as the ball is still 30 feet in the air through the entire catch. Yeah, Jordan Addison, if I knew anyone who critiqued for any reason Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson, especially Hawkinson's value for his contract, for his position, I would say that person should probably be deplatformed and lose all legitimacy. What would you say to anyone who maybe thinks Hawk or Addison are a bit overrated?
Yeah. Sorry, dogs barking back there. Couldn't really hear you, but I got
kind of ruined the bit a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't say deplatformed. I'd say just maybe they would be happy that Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson had good games. They're very happy that Jordan Addison now has only one less 100-yard game or 80-plus yard game than Marquez Valdes-Scantling on the year. They'd be very happy that TJ Hawkinson has only had his fifth 100-plus yard receiving game since he became a Viking, and the Vikings traded a second-round pick and more and also paid him $70 million. I'd say, yeah, it's about time. Thank you for showing some value. And I'm really glad for them. For those that don't know, I was the one who insinuates that I think we definitely overrate TJ Hawkinson. Not that he's a bad player. I just don't believe the tight end position should be paid that much money, especially in a team that seemed to be rebuilding. And that Jordan Addison, I was clear he's been getting open. He should be getting the ball. I know Jordan Addison's good, but I don't think he's a wide receiver one. And that's what people kept saying about, oh, we have two wide receiver ones. No, we don't. We have Justin Jefferson, who's the best wide receiver on the planet, and a really good wide receiver too in Jordan Addison. And that's what Jordan Addison's supposed to be.
I think he could be a wide receiver one on multiple teams. I think that we look at
Name him.
Jags.
No.
Pats. Patriots for sure.
Yes.
Raiders.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure?
Jacoby Myers is really good.
Jordan Addison's better.
I'm also taking into account just being an X receiver as well. So if you want to say best receiver,
that's completely okay.
If you want to say best receiver,
no, I'm not. No, we're not doing that. I'm not going. No, let me work. Let me work on my list. I know what you mean by wide receiver one, but we're talking about we're clearly meaning there are plenty of teams who their slot guys consider their wide receiver one as far as getting the main share of the targets.
Sure.
Cooper Kupp before they got Puka was not a true X.
No.
But he was their wide receiver one.
Sure.
I'm done with you.
It's situational.
Pivoting because we have breaking news from the most trusted source on Twitter. And I know
Rick
that
Sosa.
you've been more trusted. Accurately trusted.
Oh.
Do you even know where I'm going?
The Purple Persuasion.
No, you're talking about just the Vikings. This person's been right about this Vikings, but this person knows all.
Crack Rock.
Yes.
Ooh.
Some crack rock news. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, I apologize for the very confusing reference to some random person named Crack Rock. But Crack Rock, about a month and a half before the draft, made it very clear the Vikings were going to draft J.J. McCarthy and was more accurate than somebody who should be deplatformed again, maybe saying some nonsense on Twitter. Actually, you deplatformed yourself in a lot of ways. But Crackrock says, hashtag Skull, imagine having both Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones on your team. And as an ex-Jet fan, the only thing that would make it even better is to hire Robert Saleh. Guess what's in the works? Stay tuned for the skinny. So news to watch for Crackrock, who apparently finds out his news by hanging out with the Wilfs. For legal reasons, no idea if any of this is true. It's an internet bit that is sometimes accurate, so we play into it. So if you have no idea what's going on, don't take it too seriously. Unless we end up being right, then the Skolcial Network and Crack Rock broke the news.
So just to be clear, what is in the news? That Darnold, Jones, and Saleh are going to be Jets, or
No,
that
to the
we're going to
Vikings.
hire Saleh as like an assistant?
Probably that.
Okay.
It's
I
a
was about
very good proactive idea to either the worst case scenario is you pair him with Brian Flores. The best case is he's your new defensive coordinator.
I'd be totally cool with him as DC. He's a DC. He's not a head coach. He's a DC.
I would love that. Some people are already going at our good friend Mr. Crack.
Mr. Crack.
Speaking of defense, Mr. Rock, and then we'll wrap up. Keep it a nice little short and sweet. I don't know if you saw the videos. The holding against the defense was egregious. On Jonathan Grenard's sack, he shared a video of this. He was being held under the front of the shoulder pad, and it looked like, I may be wrong here, a little bit by the face mask, by two guys, to where they were all three standing still for about 4 to 5 seconds, then broke out, and then sacked Williams. You also had Harrison Phillips getting clearly held in the Bears' end zone as they were on their 1 or 2 yard line, and Williams was scrambling in the end zone. That should have been a safety. You had the no late hit call on Brandon Powell, which I'm okay with because Williams was hit late and they didn't call that. I think these refs were just bad all day. But do you think one implication, kind of going back away from the defense, but just something I thought of earlier, do you think how Justin Jefferson was played and when the refs go back and the the referee office in New York looks at some of the plays that happen, do you think they maybe encourage refs to pay extra attention to what's happening to Jefferson since he's one of their players that they want consistent highlights of? Like, let him go up and work for it. Don't give him, weird advantages, but maybe don't let your star receiver in the league get tackled mid-play.
Yes, I just want to make clear, I think Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are good. I just wanted to get that out there. And I actually defended the TJ Hawkinson contract when it happened. So for the people that are going to comment that I don't know what I'm talking about, I do think they're good. Now, maybe they do that. I don't know, because like superstar calls are a thing. I think maybe more so in the NBA, and then in the NFL it's on quarterbacks, which we know Sam Darnold's not a superstar quarterback, obviously, because of the missed face mask. Dogs really going at it. The Wild play tonight. They're excited. Yeah, I don't know if they get in a conference room and they're like, hey, watch Jefferson, because it does kind of seem like there has been an uptick on calls on Jefferson this year, because even though he's been a superstar since basically his first year, this year's the first year it kind of seems like he's getting those. So maybe there was some kind of, hey, we should probably keep a close eye on what's happening to this guy, maybe, but I don't know. For my own, even though I'm a Vikings fan, and that'd be cool if it happened for us, as a football purist, I don't know if I'd want that to happen, even if it did benefit us. But
I mean, I think it should be, obviously there's 3 to 4 receivers on the field, depending on the package on most plays. You can't clearly watch all of them, but I think if this was a situation with like Tyreek Hill or Devontae in his prime, right? Like, the league has to say, like, hey, defenses are obviously fudging the rules a little bit. They're getting extra grabby. Maybe just keep an eye on that, because I don't think it's like an unfair advantage to give him a fair opportunity. But like when he's getting his arm yanked, when he's 2 yards in front of a guy and pulled back, it's just the level of egregiousness, I think. That drives me crazy. But back to defense, because we saw, again, a ton of missed calls there. Do you think if those holding calls are made, this is a completely different game and we're not panic pooping ourselves going into overtime?
Probably, yeah. And I don't want to say I missed or I expected like missed calls, but I expected some form of just like complete incompetence from the Bears offensive line. Because the Bears offensive line now, if you remember in years past, like the bad offensive lines that we've had, like the Bears is way worse than that.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect like just missed call galore. I haven't even seen him. I'd have to go back and see him, but like I'm sure I'm not shocked that it happened, but um, yeah, so I'm kind of the guy that I get annoyed if I'm sitting in a room like with other fans, like watching their game, and they're just like, "Oh my god, the refs are screwing us, and the NFL obviously doesn't want us to win this game." Like that just kind of annoys me because I think holding calls, especially holding, happens on like 95% of snaps, like some form of holding. But when it's that egregious to what you described, like Jonathan Grenard and Harrison Phillips, that's where it's like, all right, how are we not gonna call that? So yeah, I mean, if Caleb Williams would have easily gotten sacked for a safety, much different game. It's 2 points, and we don't go to overtime. And the Grenard one, was that on the sack, like toward the end?
I don't know the exact time.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, that one probably doesn't really change anything because I think it was a long sack pause, and Minnesota probably would have declined it anyway and taken the loss of down. Because I know it was close to 10 yards, if not more.
Yeah, I actually, the Bleacher Report video of Caleb Williams with that throw to Swift down the sideline, that's a great throw, but it obviously also looks like, I think it's Grenard again. It's getting held now that it's just looping on my
Yeah.
Twitter feed right now. It's, I mean, here's the thing is at the end of the day, so far, we're really, there's debatably an illegal shift that should have been called against the Lions, but one egregious call, obviously being the face mask that cost us a game. We're winning despite a lot of things being against us. If it costs us a game at another point, and I don't even count the Rams one, we would have had to drive 100 yards and hit a 2 point conversion, right? Like it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to see them be consistent, and I think that that's the most crazy thing. Were you watching when they talked about the sideline cam, the boundary cam, this whole issue?
No.
So the 69-yard completion to
Nice.
Addison. This ended up being a whole thing, including something Eberflus said after. They have when he challenged, apparently his reasoning for challenging that call as far as he stepped out, they asked him, like, did you think he stepped out? He's like, I don't know, but it was an explosive play, and you got to try to shut those down after the fact if you can. Great logic there, buddy. But also, the broadcast showed a boundary cam that lines up perfectly and shows he didn't step out. Luckily, they didn't reverse it, but they said this camera is only in some stadiums, and therefore the NFL will not allow it for official review. And it's perfectly lined up with the boundary. You can see perfectly if they step out. And the announcers were talking about this, and I, along with a lot of people online, were just completely dumbfounded that the NFL, at least in some cases, has access to this essential view that could change the flow of a game, especially on like a kick return or a punt return for a touchdown. And then they just say, if you have it, you can't use it because not everybody has it.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense that just not everybody would have it. It's like that would fix a lot of problems. Another, like, kind of in that same vein, I'm kind of annoyed that we got rid of reviewable penalties because I know they did it for 1 year a couple of years ago, and I know they got rid of it. I guess it was just because like not that many penalties got overturned because of it. But that's not the point. It's not the point of it isn't to overturn every penalty. The point of it is to have that option. So like if there's a penalty that's like a bad call, then why it doesn't make sense to not have the ability to challenge that. So they just make a ton of interesting refereeing decisions, not just like on the field, like during the play, but just in terms of how the entire operation is set up, and may or may not point to some sort of collusion. Lot of partnering going on with sports books and stuff like that.
It's
Millions and millions and
influencing.
millions
Look,
of dollars on these games.
you could not possibly script the NFL with
No,
every detail that happens
no.
on every play. I do think that it is fair to have skepticism given the blatant issues we've seen correlating with the timing of what you're talking about.
Yes.
I I have yet to see a call be so egregious it costs a game that sticks in my mind. Other than you could technically say the face mask stuff like that, I get it, but yeah, it's. Anyways, enough about the refs. John Parker Romo did great. Punting, not so great. But other than that, for the game being what it was, and for Johnny Munt having just the undying devotion of Kevin O'Connell to where he let that kick that wasn't even a legal kick bounce off his leg and be in play, drives me absolutely insane. But other than that, like, I think the box score and the fact it went to overtime doesn't show that it was a pretty dominant performance by the Vikings, I think.
Yeah, outside of the first couple drives and the last couple drives of regulation, like it was all Minnesota. And that seems to be the theme. So I guess at least you're consistent.
Yeah. And I definitely felt a lot better. One, that game made me, even the ending how it did make me feel a lot better about the game I'm going to in a few weeks against Chicago. I think, especially being at home and knowing that so many of the reasons the Bears were even in that game was preventable with the fumble and just dumb decisions like each team muffed a kick off their leg, which I find hilarious. I think that the Vikings should win that game, and also felt a hell of a lot better seeing the Cardinals not score a touchdown yesterday going into next week.
That kind of scares me because by boy math, they should come out really hot next week.
I don't know if boy math is.
I'd
I
feel
think it's
way
also.
I'd feel way better if they blew out the Seahawks yesterday.
I would feel better. I feel good because the Seahawks defense isn't as good as the Vikings defense, and they
Very
couldn't
true.
figure out a way to throw a touchdown. That's why I feel good. All right.
Very
Well,
true.
with that, Brev, I think you and I are recording a little early this week. Maybe we'll post early. Maybe we'll wait. We'll probably wait. Let everybody enjoy the holidays or give them something to listen to in the car ride. But you know what makes a perfect gift for the holidays now that Christmas is coming up is the smell of cleanliness and the smell of Skolcial. Brev, tell the people how they can get that.
Yeah, it could be the smell of Skolcial, which encompasses all Dr. Squatch product. It could be Fresh Falls, could be Pine Tar, could be Wood Barrel Bourbon, could be Coconut Castaway. It's a personal favorite. All of their all natural products. You know, none of the BS, none of the illegal shift penalties, none of the false start penalties, none of the offsides penalties. The Vikings have cleaned that up. And you can clean that up too. With Dr. Squatch, they got Christmas products coming out. I think they're already out. So a lot of Christmassy fall kind of scents. Some people say flavors when they're talking about smell, and they're just completely wrong, and it bugs me. Whole lot of new scents coming out, already out. And you can get $10 off a purchase of some of those scents as long as it's $20 or more by using the link down below in the description. If you like it,
Another
man,
great gift.
smell like Skolcial.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Another great gift. Why not get tickets to go see the Minnesota Vikings on their three game home stretch, including getting to maybe see me around at the Monday Night Football Winter Warrior matchup against the Bears? You can go ahead and go to SeatGeek and save $20 off your first order using code BREV or code JasonH. Makes a great gift. Makes a great way to treat yourself for the holidays, especially maybe Santa leaves a little cash money in your stocking. Go ahead, go catch a game and smell good while you do it with Dr. Squatch and SeatGeek. But with that, I had a legitimate migraine after the game yesterday. I had to immediately take a nap. But boy, golly, Brev, we sure did win that game where we were up 11 with 22 seconds left, didn't we?
We sure did. Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are good, and I never said they're bad.
You're a liar. We'll see you guys in a few days. Happy Thanksgiving.